Welcome to r/EntitledPeople, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story, The Tale of Mega Karen, Confrontation, Insults, and the Power of a Wake-Up Call Revenge. The second story, Victory over a Narcissistic Boss. The third story, The Case of the Clever Revenge, Turning the Tables on a Tip Thief. The first story is Mega Karen, the entitled witch who screamed at me about her rights, insulted me, and then started recording me when I told her to get out. This one's a doozy. Buckle up. It's going to be a long story, but it's worth the read. We'll call the woman Karen and her husband Kent. Let me just give you a mental image of these people. Kent looks like the average middle-aged guy. T-shirt, jeans, old tennis shoes. Karen is the pinnacle of all that's ever been categorized as a Karen. Her foundation was way too dark and orange for her skin tone. Her hair was thin and bleached blonde. She obviously had done Botox and gotten a lot of fillers in her cheeks. She's also middle-aged. Kinda like Dolly Parton's face, except a bit narrower and with Donald Trump's complexion, i.e. caked in orange foundation and hair color. Okay, I'd already dealt with one entitled woman who yelled at me during that shift, so I wasn't having the greatest day, but I was just taking it in stride. Until Karen and her husband came in. Kent was the one who came to the desk. He was a walk-in, and it was Memorial Day weekend with 3 rooms left to sell. 1 double room on the first floor and 2 suites on the upper floor. Kent talked over me and opted for the double, which was $10 cheaper than a suite, but it was also a pet room on the ground floor. Our pet-friendly floor, while 2 and 3 were pet-free. I tried to tell him all the standard stuff, but he was like, yeah, I just want the room, and wouldn't listen, so whatever. Here's your key. He goes to his room with Karen and everything is great, for about 20 minutes. Kent comes back out and says he can hear someone's dog occasionally barking. Okay, I get it. Listening to a barking dog is annoying AF. People aren't supposed to leave their pets in the room alone anyway. I apologized and said I'd call the guest and see what I could do. I offered to move him to another room on the upper floors, and he said, no, we're not moving. We shouldn't have to. People with dogs should have to move. Everyone has dogs down that hallway. Can't you move them all to the other end of the hall? For a second, I thought he was joking. No, he was not. Wholly entitled, Batman. No, I can't, and I won't. I told him I'd do what I could to get a hold of the guest who owned the dog. He went back to his room and came out 5 minutes later to ask if I'd done anything. Mind you, the dog had stopped barking at this point. I said I couldn't get a hold of the guest, and I again offered him another room. He said, no, I told you we're not moving. They have to move. Whatever. He goes back to his room. 15 minutes later, he comes back out with Karen. Karen says, okay, this is ridiculous. We didn't pay to hear someone's dog moving around and making noise. You need to tell people that there are dogs in here. It's a pet-friendly hotel. Well, you need to tell people that. It's on the big sign outside. It's on our website. There are signs about dogs on the walls around the hotel, and it was written on the paper you signed and initialed when you checked in. Well, they shouldn't be prioritized over people. She stared at me like she was waiting for me to say something, but I don't effing know what she expected me to say. I just shrugged and said, it's a pet-friendly hotel. Okay, but we're people and we paid to stay here. So did the guests with pets? They paid for a room and paid the pet fee to stay here. We have rights and we are your priority, not people with dogs. People are prioritized over animals. Yeah, well, pet owners have rights too. Aren't you a snobby effing bee? Getting smart-mouthed with me like you're not supposed to be prioritizing us over animals. You can stop with the smart-mouthed bee attitude right now. And you can leave, now. OMG, the look that flashed across her face as she spluttered in surprise for a second was priceless. No, we aren't leaving. Get out now. No, give us the other room. No, get out now. But you just offered us another room. I did, and then you got nasty and started screaming and insulting me. So now I'm telling you to leave. Go. No, you're gonna give us the other room. If you don't leave, I'll call the police and have you escorted off the property. And then, this is the part that makes me so effing peeved I swear my soul momentarily left my body to make room for the sheer rage that coursed through me. This bee whipped out her phone to record me, which is illegal in my state. Give us the room. Get out. Are you recording me? Yes, That's what you get when you're a snobby little bee. She was so happy with herself, like she's some kind of effing genius dealing out some groundbreaking vigilante justice to her cruel oppressors. I can call my manager or call the cops. Pick one or get out. At that point, Karen went effing berserk and just started screaming and screeching until her orange face turned red. Screaming about how they should be prioritized, and I'm such an effing bee, smart-mouthed, snotty, snobby a-hole, and they were getting that room, blah blah blah. Tons of insults in SH. My brain was kinda like, yeah, F this SH. So I was standing behind the desk calmly and sarcastically saying, yep, sure, yep, as she was screaming at me. I reiterated her choices. She demanded my name and my manager. What a surprising turn of events. I cheerfully said, I'll write it down for you, but that didn't stop her from demanding I tell her my name a million times. My guess is she wanted me to say it on video. Kent told me to go call your manager. I went back to the office, shut the door, called my manager, and just burst into tears as soon as she picked up. All the stress and emotion I'd held in to keep it together just came out behind closed doors. I said I needed her to come in. I could barely explain why. Just there are these two C's at the front desk screaming at me and recording. Okay, it's okay. Let me get dressed and I'll be right in. I tried to stop crying and pull it together before opening the door. I stopped for a second and heard Karen telling another family that came in what a total bee I was. I opened the door and said, okay, she's on her way, have a seat. When will she be here? Soon, have a seat. We're not going any. I said have a seat. She stopped talking and jerked her head back and said, you really do have a snobby bee attitude problem, don't you? They went back to their room. The family that witnessed the tail end of it just looked at me like I was a piece of SH whenever they saw me for the rest of their stay. My manager came in and I was just in hysterics, crying and couldn't breathe to tell her what happened. I managed to grind out the beginning of it before Karen comes out to the desk. Your employee refused us a room. Really? Because from what I heard, you refused a room that she offered to you. But then we wanted it and she said no. That's what happens when you yell at my front desk agents. She was yelling at us. I have a video. Yes, she said you were recording her, which I'm not okay with. I don't care if you have a video. Why don't you come around the desk and talk to us? No, talk to me across the desk. You're being very rude. Just come around the desk to talk to us. This desk is between us for my protection. I don't know what you'll do. Karen huffed and shoved her phone in the manager's face to show her the video. I was back in the office, but from what I heard, the face she made when she realized she hadn't actually been recording the entire time, and only got about 30 seconds where she's yelling and I'm saying, yep, it must have been effing priceless. My manager eventually gave them another room, which I was peeved AF about. Why reward them for their bad behavior? This is why they act this way in the first place. Nobody tells them no. Karen was a total C. Why does she get a stay? At least my manager told them that they were not to bother me, not to speak to me, not to harass me like that. You can have the room, but you don't bother my front desk agent again. They kept their side of it, apparently. My manager hung around until they were in the new room, and my Ativan was kicking in. I didn't hear another word from them, didn't see them again for the rest of the night. But they needed some kind of slap on the wrist out of the ordeal at the very least. I was peeved they were staying. So before I went home, I set up a few wake-up calls for their room. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and 4 a.m. I'm told she didn't say a thing about it. Effing Karen. The second story is a happy ending. Narcissists are rampant at the upper hierarchy in corporate America, and especially so within tech. And so most people at some point in their lives will have to deal with them. They might be a colleague, they might own the company, they might be the CEO, and they might be your direct boss. And if you've ever dealt with one, you know that it's virtually impossible to win against one. Their entire worldview is constructed around controlling narratives, while ensuring that their image and ego are properly satiated. Anyone who has the potential to undermine those things in any way, whether legitimately or perceived, is a threat that must be stopped by whatever means necessary. Often when you Google things like how to deal with a narcissist boss, you'll find time after time that there's simply no way to win without leaving the company or finding another department to work in. For the last year, my team had a shakeup and ended up reporting to the most stereotypical cliché narcissist. A completely inflated sense of self. An absolute blowhard with no real industry, product, or best practices knowledge. A hollow shell with no actual skills who was convinced that he was far, far more talented than anyone else in the company. A walking HR nightmare. He was constantly inappropriate, constantly unprofessional, always interrupting people, always trying to steal your thunder and try to take the credit for himself. Impossible to debate with. Changing reality all the time regardless of how egregious it was, and with no self-awareness to know just how crazy it looked. And despite all this, he's been with the company for more than 20 years. He truly is a con artist. stealing money from the company while doing virtually no work, and finding people to blame for his own inability. I can't imagine how many people at this company have been fired, reprimanded, or have quit due to this guy. I can't imagine how many bad decisions affected customers and their business, or how many times this company has made bad decisions due to his ridiculously bad advice. The amount of impact this guy has had is immeasurable, and I'm certain that 90% of it has been egregiously bad. Well, my friends, it's over. Today, against all odds, my team beat the narcissist boss. He's gone, fired, and he won't ever be back. Through a collaborative effort of documenting meetings, emails, Slack messages, all while keeping track of every dollar spent inefficiently or impractically. Through months and months of putting it all together, coming together and deciding that enough is enough, we built a case for the top level of the company to finally be done with him. And it actually effing worked. He's gone. It feels like a religious experience, like I bathed in holy water. It's one of the happiest I can remember being. The possibilities at work are endless now. The day-to-day is so much better. The opportunity is to grow my career, to legitimately help customers, to foster a positive working environment. I'm sleeping better, I'm happier. It's great. I can't effing believe it. It's as though Andy Dufresne finally got the prison warden in the Shawshank Redemption. That's how it feels. I just wanted to say that you never know. Sometimes things really do work out. Maybe this will help someone who's absolutely drowning in their miserable work life. I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to type it out so that I could see how real it actually is. The end. The third story. My revenge story. Many years ago, like 2001, on a slow night at the fancy place I worked, I sent all the servers home and just used the bar for any late tables. The lone cook and I chatted until about 10 minutes to close, and a young 20-something, well-dressed couple came in. I seated them at the bar. The cook headed back and I got their drink orders. Everything goes great. They were very pleasant, and the guy paid the bill saying, "Great job, you earned this." He made a point of showing me the $100 he then put into the check booklet. They thanked me again, headed out, and I locked the door behind them. I did some closing duties before I went back and picked up the check booklet. Lo and behold, the $100 was gone. Now, I didn't think the cook stole it, so I retraced my steps and still didn't find it. The cook asked me what I was doing and then helped me search, but still no Hamilton. A bit bummed, I closed out my till and was preparing to leave when I heard a banging at the front door. The guy was back and I was ecstatic, thinking perhaps he had accidentally taken it. I opened the door and he asked me if I had jumper cables. "I sure do. Give me a minute. My car's out back, so I'll drive up front." I wasn't about to ask about the tip because he had been a very nice guy. I headed through the kitchen when the cook called me into the office. He had looked at the video surveillance, and sure as SH, that guy had taken his 100 back when I went into the kitchen. Needless to say, I was a bit peeved because I had done a good job, and the guy was trying to impress a girl, as well as rip me off even a tiny tip. The cook had an idea and told it as we both left and got into our cars. I drove around front where the guy and his girl were waiting for me to jump their vehicle. I rolled down the window and asked him if he had left his lights on. He sheepishly said yeah, and we both laughed. I then said, "Great job, you earned this," and drove off to his dumbfounded face. I wondered if he'd ever call to complain, but I told my boss about it the next day and he laughed. Alas, no call ever came. In case anyone wonders, cell phones were not yet the norm. We didn't have Yelp, and the camera used VHS tapes. Cameras trained on the cash registers have been around since the 80s. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to know when the new video comes out, and hit the like button to support the channel.